Code it now. Write a program using a for loop that will simulate a roll of a 6-sided dice a total of 5 times. At the end, have an output of the sum of the rolls. Hint: you will need to use math.random to generate a random number. However, this will find a number between 0.0 and 0.999 repeating, so mathematical adjustments will need to be made. So before we even move on to actually coding this, we should probably think about how we want to get, a number from 1 through 6. And one of the best ways to do this would actually be to just take the result of math.random, multiply it by 6, and then add 1. Now, you may be wondering where I got this random set of, adding or multiplying and adding from, but I'll explain it to you. So the idea is if we multiply by 6, we're going to get a number between 0 and 5.9999999 repeating, right? But we, of course, don't want 0, and we also need 6 to be an option for the random number that we get. So we add 1, so in this way we get a number from 1.0 to 6.99999 repeating. And then what we can do from here is we can just cast our double value returned by math.random to an integer, and then this will actually just take away the decimal portion. So it's essentially like rounding down. It's the equivalent of rounding down. So this way we get a value from 1 to 6, which is exactly what we want. There are other ways to go about this, of course. We could also, for example, just take the result of math.random, multiply it by 10, and then just only take a number as a roll of the dice if this number, falls within 1 through 6. But I decided that this approach would make a little more sense because this way we avoid over computing. We avoid having too many loops going through. So I'm going to go to jgrasp now. I'm going to start a new file, so Control-N. Accept the defaults with Enter. Then I'm going to go back to this old file. I'm going to copy the contents of it with Control-C. Then go back to the untitled window, Control-V. And then I'm just going to start changing stuff. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is change the name. So I'm just going to call this DiceRoll. And so for this, it does not seem like we're going to need the scanner object at all, since it doesn't say anything about accepting user input. So I'm just going to take away this import statement since it would be unnecessary to have it. And I'm going to take away the code from the main method. We also, of course, don't need this anymore. I'm going to scroll back. Oh, looks like I got rid of a little more than I wanted to here. How about we do that again? There we go. Now I should be good. Yep, all right. And let's change the name of the class declaration, of course. Alrighty. And now we can go back to our main method. And so, first thing we want to do is create the for loop, because we want to write a program using a for loop that will simulate a roll of 6 dice, total of 5 times. All right. So first, actually, before we create the for loop, let's just create our sum variable. So we have an int sum equals 0. And then we're going to have a for loop. I'm adding some spaces, though. And I'm also going to add a comment, actually, saying simulate the roll of a 6-sided dice 5 times. So now we're going to write our for loop. So for int I equals 0, as long as I is less than 5, I plus plus. Then we need to add our curly braces. And now we can start writing within the for loop. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create our random roll of the dice. So let's just call this int roll. And let's use what I discussed earlier. So we're going to want to call math.random. we're going to want to multiply this by 6. And then after we multiply this by 6, so let's put this entire expression in parentheses here, we're going to want to add 1. And then the very last thing we need to do is we want to cast an int. And just to be extra clear with what we want, we'll make sure to add parentheses around that whole part of the expression. So first we want to call math.random, then we want to multiply by 6, then we want to add 1, and then we want to cast it to an integer. And of course, we need a semicolon. And now we can just do sum plus equals roll. All right, and we might as well print out the results. So let's just do a system.out.println. Say the sum of rolling the dice 5 times is, and sum. Close parentheses, semicolon. Okay, so now let's just save this file with Control S, accept the defaults, Control B to compile. Good, we compiled, and now Control R to run. And there we go. The sum of rolling the dice 5 times is 17. So of course this seems like a very reasonable value, and because our largest value we have on the dice is 6, so 6 times 5 is 30, so we definitely shouldn't get a number larger than 30, and we didn't, so that's good news. In fact, we could even just run it a few more times just to make sure. So this time we got 18. Let's try again. 19. That's sort of interesting. We keep getting higher and higher numbers. 21. 17. Okay, we went back down. 17. 16. And you can just keep playing around with this, but yeah, that's it.